Yes, good morning. So, we will begin the lecture. So, today is my third lecture on solid mechanics 1, and in the last two lectures I think I have introduced the concept of stress, a very simplified uh, version of what is a stress at a point P, and that too I have taken a member which is slender and which is subjected to axial load. And then we have cut the member perpendicular to the axis passing through the point P at which we wanted to find out the stress. So, we had concept of the stress is a very, this is not all that you need to know about stress, this is a very simple. So, we had a rod which is subjected to tensile load P, and then we wanted to know somewhere in the inside the body what is the stress at point P. So, what I did, I took a plane perpendicular to this axis, means this axis, and then I take the free body diagram of one part, passing through point. Similarly, there can also be a free body diagram of the bottom part. I will just displace it by certain amount. This is the point P. Now, both these parts must remain in a state of equilibrium. So, I only said that yes, at this cross section, because this cross section can be square, can be rectangular, can be anything, point P is there. For simplicity, we have taken point P, not necessarily, let us take point P, this is point P. There is one centroidal axis, this is G. Okay, that is the center of gravity of the cross section. So, the load is passing through centroid. This is one assumption we have taken. We have not taken this load which is being in this rod is being pulled is passing through centroid, and we want to know what is the state of what is the stress at point P. So, what we have done, we have taken a normal cross section, we call it normal cross section because it is perpendicular to the axis, longitudinal axis. So, it is a normal cross section, and then here point P. We are now postulating that yes, over here some kind of distribution will be there. We are assuming that the distribution of force on this cross section is uniform. So, second assumption that we have made, that let this load be resisted by some internal set of distribution of forces which is uniform over the entire cross section. So, this if I take this cross section, so this load is uniform over each and every point. So, this is second assumption. So, assumption number 1, axial load. Please note down the assumptions very clearly because these are important. One is axial load passing through G. Centroid G. So, this is one assumption, and then the second assumption is that we have taken a uniform two is uniform distribution So, this is what is uniform distribution of this over the cross section, and then we have said okay, if you take this and this is of some material, we are not talking of what material this rod is made of, we are also not saying anything about what is the kind of deformation that is taking place, because if the body is deformable and if you apply a tensile load P, it is going to elongate. That also we are not saying, we are simply saying stress at a point P inside the body, you pass a plane, separate the body, draw the free body diagram. So, this is one free body diagram and this is not complete, and this will be the next free body diagram, equal and opposite, this distribution of force, and call this distribution, since we have assumed this to be uniform, call this, denote it by sigma, and sigma is a distribution over area. So, we distribute load per unit area, that means Newton per square meter. The unit of force is what? Newton, kilogram into G. So, Newton, so it is in Newton per square meter, and so stress is a measure of, stress is what? Stress is a measure of distribution, internal distribution. Stress is a measure of internal distribution of forces inside the body, kindly write it, inside the body, and it is expressed as load per unit area, force per unit area. So, stress, and we are denoting this stress as load is in Newton divided by area of cross section, of this is A in square P by A. So, so much Newton per meter square stress. So, this is the simple concept of stress at a point P. Now, here the implicit in this assumption, I mean this definition is that over the area A, the distribution of forces that you are assuming is uniform. Actually, it will not be uniform in all the, at all the length, this is what I just wanted to, because these are assumptions. What is happening? See, if you have this load, shall I draw the rod horizontally? Yes, vertical or horizontal makes no difference, So, you have a this is subjected to P, and P is going through centroid of the cross section, it is centroid. This distribution, see, if you are because normally when you apply a force I am pressing this table with my thumb. So, of course, it is distributed over a small area. But if I take a pointed, for example, this pen, and if I apply a force like this here, so the area is very small. I can apply the same amount of force, area has become very small. So, that means at the contact area, the what will be different? The stress will be very high. Stress will be extremely high, because area has reduced, P has remained the same. One is I am applying this a blunt, and the other one is a pen. So, this one is so this is what you should understand. So, when we are saying force application at a, so we are applying at centroidal axis a net force in Newton. Then we are saying okay, let me draw a cross section here. So, here free body diagram, at this cross section there must be distribution of forces. Now, this distance is quite this distance, this x, if it is x is larger than the lateral dimension. What is the lateral dimension here? Diameter. It is away, that means away from the application of load. Then our assumption is more or less of uniform distribution is not bad. But let us say that yes, I am taking a cross section here, I am taking, this is my load application P, this point, and I am taking a cross section here, my x is here itself, very close. It is very close. Now, you see here we have applied a concentrated force. What will happen if you take the distribution will be something like, I mean that is what you can visualize. It will be something like this, a small force, large force, a small force, some which is non-uniform. So, here away from it, yes, it is uniform, but here what is happening in the center, because load is applied in the center axis, maximum value will be there, distribution, and then on both sides it will reduce. So, as you go, supposing now next cross section you take this will perhaps flatten out. Then this will be something like this, and finally, when it is away from, so this is x, as x is becoming larger. So, this is the smallest x, little larger, and this is the very large. So, you see the distribution goes on changing. So, this distribution, so this assumption or this formula that we have arrived at will be valid when my cross section is away from the point of application of the load, yes, not very close to the application of the load. You cannot find out stress very close to the application of the load, then because the distribution there will be non-uniform. So, that formula will not give you. So, here we cannot have sigma equal to sigma, there is nothing like, because sigma itself is variable here, force per unit area is variable. So, there is no one value of, so it is a variable, sigma is variable here, sigma is variable. Now, this point where we have applied the load at the end of the rod, So, that means here if you draw sorry, we are taking tensile load because we wanted to have a positive extension, positive stress also I had told you. So, here very close, if I draw the distribution, it will be more or less 0 here and maximum will be here. So, it may be even a steep variation like this stress distribution. So, this will be the variation of stress. Have you got it? Now, this point where you have this steep, that means because this area under the curve, because how do you get per unit area? If you integrate all this distribution over the area, you must get the value P. It is a resultant force. Force must balance. P must be equilibrated by the stress distribution. So, there must be, if you integrate sigma, that means sigma into dA, you integrate over the cross section A at any cross section, this must give you P, because that is per unit area. Take a small value, multiply, integrate over the cross section. So, that must be giving you P. So, this point where load is applied, that means where the stress distribution is highly uneven, highly non-uniform and very steep value will be there, is called point of stress concentration. Point of stress concentration. That means stress concentration, stress is concentrated. What is the meaning of this? Stress is concentrated. Stress is concentrated at the point of application of the load. There it is very, very high. Stress so, we are not trying to find out the value of this high value of distribution, we are in this course we will be trying to find out only the average value, and average value will be away from the point of application of load, but you must know this behavior. Stress concentration is important, you must know. So, wherever loads are applied, wherever you have changes in the geometry of the system of the member changes, supposing there are two rods which are meeting, which are joined together and the diameters are different. So, wherever there is a change of, because suddenly what will happen, P is the same, area is changing. So, at that particular point where the area is changing, that is the point of stress concentration. So, you must be able to point out which are the points of stress concentration, and these are the points which will fail, because stress is so high that material will not be able to take it. So, these are the points of failures. So, you have to guard, you have to take extra as a designer, because this course will help you to design a member, given a material, given a rod, and you have to decide what will be its cross section in order to take up this much load. So, you have to design. So, that is called design. So, decide the cross sectional area, decide the for a given load what should be the cross section for a given material. So, one should know, and you have to also ensure that the material does not fail. So, that extra precaution will be. So, stress concentration is a concept which you must know. Okay, so this you remember now that simple formula, this is average formula. So, this is average, this formula is an average stress P divided by A. Do not think that this is a gospel truth, everywhere P divided by A will be the stress, no, stress will be different at different cross section, away from the point of application it will be like this. So, one was concept of stress concentration which we have done. Second one, we also, if you recall in the last two lectures, today is the third lecture. So, that we did discuss about strain, what is, because in the process of if the body is deformable, strain. Before I forget, remember that stress is a concept that is defined at a point, not over a cross section. We are finding out over a cross section, we are saying average stress over cross section. But right from the beginning I told you I want to, my interest was to find out stress at point P, and P was some point on that cross section. So, we passed a plane, cut it, and then we made the average value, and then we said okay, that is the stress. So, stress is always defined at a point. We will define the concept of stress in a more general way little later, because I have this time I have changed my order of presentation for simplicity. I think I want to follow this. This is a simpler way of explaining than starting from a general and then coming to particular. So, I am starting from a particular, a simple case, and then I will generalize later. Okay. So, stress is a stress at a point, and what kind of stress is this? I think we have given a name to it, normal stress. This is a normal stress, because we have, this is the stress acting perpendicular to the plane which we have drawn, normal stress. So, this is a normal stress. Then the next was strain, and there we said yes, this rod under the action of original length L is of length L, when there is no load is applied, and then under the action of, when you apply the load, then its length, I am keeping the left end at the same point. So, its length changes. So, it becomes L plus delta. Here we have applied the load. Delta. So, change in length is occurring because material is deformable. So, because we are talking of mechanics of deformable bodies. So, this is deformable, deforms. So, delta is change in length, and so we define again strain also is a concept like stress, and in an average sense to start with we will define that strain within the body, we are assuming that yes, the strain in the body is change in length divided by the original length, and we denote it by a symbol epsilon. It is a Greek letter epsilon, 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 and sigma was that is sigma, that again is a Greek letter. change in length per unit length. Now, this is a measure of elongation, how it is the elongation that has occurred in the entire rod, and in average sense we are defining, and then again this is under the action of only normal load, normal stress. So, we call it normal strain. So, this one is average normal strain. Okay. Change in length per unit length. So, this is meter divided by meter, it is unitless, no unit, so much. Then comes, now this is a very whatever I have defined is strain, average in the entire, average over the entire length of the rod, it is too much, So, just like stress, why do not we now look at, supposing I want to find out, yes, this is a point P inside the body, same. So, what I will do, I will take at a distance x. So, this is a very crude definition that I have given you, point P. I want to find out strain at point P. Again, now I will give you, that means after giving the crude definition over the entire length, change in length total divided by, but then all the particles are moving, this is the cumulative. Now supposing I want to find out strain at point P, then how should I go about it? So, what I will do, I will take a cross section at a distance x point, I know, and then I will also go to a point, next point P dash. So, this is, let us say this is P and this one is P dash at a distance delta x from this. So, very close. So, P and P dash. So, if I take this cross section, this one, this element out. So, this element will look like something like this. This is point P, this is point P dash, and this is dx. So, what you have, so if you want to find out strain at point P, then what we have to see? We have to now check how does this small element, which is an infinitesimally small element, very small, and which is close to, we have drawn this element P and P dash are very close to each other. How does this element elongates? What is the elongation of this? Because original length is dx, and what is the change that occurring? Okay. So, that divided by dx will be the strain at point P. So, remember that. So, it will be different at different places. If you take a point here, more strain will be there. Why? As you go on that side. Now, if you take a point very close to the one end, supposing this end is clamped, it is fixed, then if you take a point very close to this, you will find the strain will be less here. So, like this, and the cumulative will be, so strain is also a quantity that is defined at a point. So, strain at a point. At a point P, it is not that, it is okay, loosely we say it is delta by L, but that is provided L is very small. So, we must find out this change in length of delta x, and so if you say this is So, what has happened that this also see point P and P dash both will move na, when the loads are applied, because both are free points, I mean inside the body, and both have the tendency to move along the length. So, this point perhaps will move like this, and this point will, and this length. So, this is delta x, original is delta x, but after the movement this is the change, this will be not delta x, it will be delta x plus something. There will be the distance between 2 points. See, this is the original point, these are the two. Afterwards, this has moved to this point and this has moved to this. So, I am saying the final distance between the 2 points and original difference, there will be difference. So, let us call this delta x plus u. U is the change in length of delta x. So, then strain at point P, can be defined as u divided by delta x. U is the change in delta x. You can also say that it is always final length, final minus initial length, everywhere it is length divided by initial. So, it is final is delta x plus u minus initial is delta x divided by delta x. I am talking in differential sense, in a very small, but then there is one thing we are missing, then it comes out to be, because this delta x, so it is coming to u by delta x. But then to be mathematically correct, any differential calculus is always defined a point P. How do you define P? When P and P dash comes closer to each other, delta x becomes very. So, truly strain at point P will be defined as, because these will be all approximate, the top one will all be approximate, or truly it will be, you have to take a limit of u divided by delta x as delta x tends to. So, this will be the correct definition. Any differential calculus, how do you define derivative? Derivative of a function at point P on the curve, you take a point P dash at a distance x plus delta x, find out dy, then divide that by dx, and then say delta x tends to 0, then it is given by dy by dx. So, definition of derivative of a function y with respect to x is dy by dx, but that is in the limit as delta y, as delta x tends to 0, that is the definition. So, it is. So, like this. So, this one will be your basic definition. So, strain at a point is, this is the correct definition, all these are approximate. Okay. So, I think we have learnt a little about stress and strain. Now, yes, now when we discussed stress, we did not talk about the elongation, and when we discussed strain, we did not talk about the force. I did not say force, I only said point P moves to P dash, all points they move, the force is applied, but it is not relating, strain does not involve the value force. So, one is purely mechanical, that means the concept of stress is dependent only upon the forces that are applied on the body, we call it purely mechanical considerations. So, it is a concept based upon pure mechanical concept, while strain is purely geometric. There is no, we do not discuss about forces, we simply say change in length per unit length. You consider a small length of element inside the body, find out the change in length of that element after the loads are applied, and then define your rate of change of rate of change of this length, and that is defined as the strain. So, this is where this so one is mechanical concept, other one is geometrical concept. There is no relationship. So, where does the relationship come from? After all, strain has come because of the stress in the body. Unless the load was applied, there was no question of strain. So, how to relate these two quantities? So, the relation between this stress and strain comes from the material that the body is made of. We have not discussed anything about the material. Now, both these concepts are irrespective of any material. It is independent of any material, both stress and strain, they will not involve discussion about the material, but then they have to be related. Once we relate this, means yes, this is the kind of stress strain curve that we will get when it is steel. This is the kind of stress strain curve we will get when we put a tensile load in the rod, when it is aluminum, things like that, or a plastic. So, there are various, and this is what you are going to do in our lab. One test is there where you are going to break steel rod specimens, steel, and you will see how does. So, when you, so now next one is relationship between, so this third, and here comes knowledge of the material. And this law, the relationship between the two is purely experimental. We cannot do it, we cannot generate it on computer. I cannot postulate a theory. I will have to really take a test specimen, put it under the machine and test it. So, how it is done? So, for example, for a steel rod, if you take a steel rod of some cross section, apply load P, this rod undergoes change in length, and so we will have to put it under. So, what is normally done? We have a machine called UTM, Universal Testing Machine, Universal Testing Machine, name is universal. So, many other types of tests also can be conducted on this machine, but the most common is the tensile test. So, you have a at the bottom you have a fixed base in that machine where the rod can be fixed here. So, rod can be fixed, and on the top you have another fixture that can move. This is, so this one is fixed and this one is movable. First of all, this grip has to be, this grip, because you cannot apply a load unless properly hold it. So, originally you put it, measure the distance between the two original length, and then, so one is fixed to the base it does not move. For example, this one, while this one moves, and movement can be monitored, can be measured by some arrangement. And then again the application of load that is being applied also can be measured. So, this if you draw a P by A stress versus strain curve, and this is x axis, this is y axis. How do we draw, which quantities should be drawn on x axis? See, x axis, y axis, these are the two axes. Normally we have some convention, dependent and independent quantity, dependent and independent quantity. Now here what I have drawn stress on the vertical axis and strain on the y axis should be dependent and x axis should be independent quantity. Now according to you, what do you feel, which one is dependent? And when you apply the load, means you produce stress, because of the stress the rod, the strains are produced. So which one is independent and which one is dependent? Stress is independent, very good. Stress is independent, but then the stress should be on the horizontal axis. But no, we draw it like this, and that is why I stopped it and explained to you. Normal convention is stress, dependent, independent, but then we draw stress strain curve. So this is something like strain control. That means as if we are changing the strain and finding out the corresponding stress. That means changing the length, forcing the machine to have different lengths, and then finding out, measuring what is the stress, what is the load that is it not? Here strain is becoming independent and stress is becoming. So this is called strain control test. Strain we are having control on the strain, because of you can do both, stress controlled and strain controlled. Normally stress controlled, because you apply a load, yes, and you can watch, you can see the change in length. So I should have drawn this one here, but the convention is to draw stress on the vertical axis. Okay. So this is, if you draw this, if you take the rod and you test it, so what you will find this, I am talking of now here, now I will say which material. So I will just say steel. Now there are different kinds of steel, because composition of steel means carbon, then other material, it is a alloy. So there will be number of metallurgical properties that will enter. So but we are taking a normal steel, you can. So this, if you see, if you load it, stress, so it will change like this. Up to certain point it is almost linear. Then it goes there, machine, that means you are changing slowly. It has to be done very slowly, without disturbing, not fast rate, very slow. Then it goes here and it goes up and little down. There is a kink there, kink occurs at a particular point, and then you find, that means here up to here it is straight line. So we call this, what it will be, proportional limit. Stress is proportional to strain. Then it goes little up, because there is a small hump here and then here, and then more or less it remains horizontal for very large. You will find large amount of strain at a constant stress. At the same load, you will find material will have very sudden elongation, and it will go on flowing. So this is called flow part. Material becomes, very, very what? Plastic, yes, from elastic to plastic, plastic material, yes. So, here the same steel becomes plastic and there is a flow, and this strain, this anyway I am going to give you a assignment. If this is certain value, so this will be at least about 15 times, 15 to 20 times it almost horizontal, no extra load, same load, and but strains are going on increasing at that particular stress. So, stress is same level, strain is going on increasing. Okay. So, this is this we call flow region, material becomes flow, and then after some times, see, some rearrangement of particles inside the material takes place. We say that the material gets hardened, there is some hardening of the material. So, once it hardens from flow, from plasticity, then again it takes some load. So, here it will go like this, slightly increase, slight, it not at the same rate at which we saw here, this will not be, but it will be flatter here. Okay. So, this is the hardened portion, this is the and then it will go up over a hump, and here it will break. You will find the rod becomes into two parts. Now, this is the general stress strain curve for steel, normal steel. Again, in steel also there will be different types of curves that we can get depending upon the composition of that steel. So, this one up to here, where up to now, if you stop your machine over here, do not apply any load and you start unloading, you will find the strain also will reduce and it will follow the same path here. So, it is reversible, it will go, that means you are going up and you can come down also. So, this is like this portion is linear. So, we call this, and it will come to 0, full deformation can be recovered, rod becomes, it elongates, but then if you remove the load, it will become 0, it will come back to 0, original length will be restored, provided the load has not exceeded this point. Load means load divided by area stress has not exceeded this point. So, silence, I think some of you are talking from this end, so please keep quiet. So, this one is very important. So, this is a fully linear and we call it what is the elastic material? Elastic material is one which recovers, which the original length is recovered. You take a rubber also, by the way, is elastic, rubber. You take a ball, you take a your eraser, you can again it comes back, is elastic. Elastic is one property, that means you deform and after the loads are removed, it comes back to its original position. So, first is elastic. This is linear elastic because it follows a linear law here, up to here, only up to this point. So, it is a linear elastic, and what else? Rubber, by the way, is not linear elastic. If you draw a stress strain curve for rubber, it will be right from beginning, it will be a curve, okay, right from beginning it will be a curve. So, I would stop here. Now, the good thing about this, only one thing I will tell you here now, because we will be discussing most of our discussion in this course for material which are loaded only up to this point. Okay. We will not go beyond plastic and strain hardening. So, this is called strain hardening, this is plastic region from here to here. Now, in your, so this slope is constant and this slope is denoted by a material constant, linear elastic constant, Young's modulus. This you must have done in also in physics course. So, this is given by stress divided by strain. So, for a material which is linear elastic, we can have a relationship between stress and strain by drawing this curve and finding out the slope, and slope is given which is called material constant, and it is Young's modulus of elasticity. Okay. Now, this one is little descriptive, this subject of material. It is given in your book on Popov, then also in Gere, and also read another book in the library, it is there, whose name is Mechanics of Solid Deformable Solids by Crandall, Crandall. Crandall, DH, second author is Dahl, Dhal, and Lardner, Lardner. Read these three books, your own two books plus this Crandall, Dahl and Lardner, and write a brief note on stress strain curve for steel. It is already a known material. So, on A4 size paper, this is A4 size paper, leave 1 inches margin on all the 4 sides, write your name and roll number on the right top corner, and write a brief note of about 5 to 10 pages, handwritten nicely on stress strain curve of steel. Okay. Read from these 3 books and let me see how you write and how you study on your own. So, this is a home assignment. Okay. Thank you.